Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here today. I've got a lot of slides. So there's going to be images of human remains, as you would expect. So I worked in this building for about 10 years before coming over here and working in the museums in the UK. I also did wrapping of human remains. These were the Royal Mummy Collection, and we put them on display. But I also did my research later on CT scanning. And I'm just saying that, not to brag, but just to tell you that I've done these things. I'm not really pointing the finger to anybody. I've done all the things. Okay, so back in 2021, when everybody of us here were stuck in our houses, the Egyptian mummies or Egyptian mummy parade was taking place in Egypt, moving from the building that you've seen in the first picture to a brand new museum called the National Museum of Civilization, Egyptian National Museum of Civilization. And it was a really big, huge national event. It was broadcast live, and people from around the world were watching it. And I was watching it because I worked with these mummified people, and I wanted to see how they're going to move them. And actually, they did it in a really nice way. You couldn't see anything. There was these sort of vehicles, and they were just showing them. Goodness knows if they were actually inside or not. Nobody knows. So we're going to move to Manchester. I studied in Manchester. So we're going to move to Manchester and see. This is how one of the mummified people, and you'll see I'm trying to avoid the word mummy because, again, there's a lot of implication on using this word. And you will see this later. So Manchester Museum are putting us through, and I seen us through in a totally different environment when I first arrived in Manchester in 2004. And I'll show you later. So this is the most recent display of Asru in the Manchester Museum, and it says here, techniques such as CT scanning in our desire to know more. So they're not putting these CT scans on display, and they said that in our desire to know more, we have undone ancient rites and seen her in ways that were never intended. So they had this informed decision, or decision, to actually not to put her CTs on display. So this has happened around about 2008, and Asru, when she was actually on display almost naked, there was a tiny little piece of material just here on her waist. Asru was totally covered, and there was a mark on before the entrance to the display, Egyptian display, to say that you are about to see mummified Egyptian people. I really like this quote from Sam Alberti's and et al. Publication about what is it that we can say about the past or other culture which you can only say by having human remains on display. And the answer is nothing. So although most visitors to displays of ancient human remains claim they have learned something new. So let's keep this in mind. By the way, I'm not going to give you any answers today. It's all questions. So back to Manchester Museum. They had this Golden Mummy exhibition recently. Again, there was no co-curating, something that Anthony talked about with the community. There was nothing with the Egyptian community in Manchester. I really like this quote that was actually on the wall, and say that the mummy, this is from Petrie, who are so-called the father of archaeology, Egyptian archaeology, and he said the mummy was not worth keeping, but of course I kept the head for comparison. Comparison can mean a lot of things, a lot of them dodgy, but comparison, he actually was comparing the mummy portraits to the skull themselves. In the sort of he believed that it represents the real person, which we know now it's not. But also Petrie was involved in a lot of race theories regarding the Egyptians as well, which some of them, unfortunately, continued until now, surprisingly. So CT scanning, we've done this in Aberdeen. This is a mummified child, and we've done a CT scanning, but we've done it because we wanted to monitor the state of preservation. So are we going to just keep that for ourselves, just to monitor but never display? Again, another question. However, the mummified child herself, are actually now on display in China. Let's talk about the ethical research, and I really would like to highlight this today. This is in Northern Ireland in Belfast, in Ulster Museum, and Jeremiah mentioned Ulster Museum this morning. They done this research in collaboration with, I think, Manchester as well, and the end result was that they've done a DNA analysis, and the DNA is more genetically similar to Europeans rather than modern Egyptian population. So there is a big issue regarding that. And also it really feeds from what Petrie was saying about in the Neolithic time, people came from Europe to just live in Egypt, which is, again, not true. But let's see what happened here. So Angela said that this is really out of context, and it says that it doesn't really tell you about migration, it doesn't tell you about, and it really plays into the hands of the right-wing media, which I totally support, and it just echoes the Victorian research. Hannah Crowdy, who's actually a friend of mine as well. She's the head of the Curatorial at National Museum. I think her position's changed since then, but she also was sort of defending the project. On this old sort of discussion, can you see any Egyptian voices? No, nothing. Okay, so let's go to another. This is a more recent one. So this is 2021. Ancient Egyptians looked like modern Europeans. Again, this was the headline of the Sunday Times. No, I don't think so. I can remember seeing people look like that in Cairo streets. Another one, it says that the genetic makeup of ancient Egyptians is more closely related to the modern day individuals in the Mediterranean. Yeah, we are in the Mediterranean. Yeah, why not? But just to go through that. So what is the ethics regarding where did they get the samples? Because Egypt, you can't get samples out of Egypt now. So I wanted to see has it been a published article? Let's have a look. It's actually a poster in a conference. So they started this new technique. They went to a database, genetic database. We got a few things, but are we actually sure about information that we get from these databases regarding the ethical ways of these samples were acquired? So no, we're not. Leeds. So Leeds put these in their Twitter account, and they said, we're about to tell you an incredible story, one we have been keeping under our hats for 7 years. They've been doing this research for 7 years, and they actually managed to do a 3D reconstruction to the voice box of a mummified person that they have in their collection. And I heard this when I was going to work, listening to the radio. I heard it on Radio 1. Everybody was laughing because it was something that, we all have voice boxes. We can make many noises. Some of them are really funny. and this was funny. And I was like, oh my goodness. Anyway, let's move on. So the headlines: the mummy speaks, talk like an Egyptian, mummy returns. This is really not on. So Museum Association, of course, they came up and they said new research into Egyptian mummies leads to calls for major ethical review, which I totally agree with. And Leeds came up with, although the study received a great deal of attention in the press, it should be noted that research is regularly carried out on human remains, but also looking at Leeds' collection policy, they actually have in their collection policy that they are working with human remains, and they said that display, research, and teaching, so they are using them. But there is no mention to consultation with the Egyptian community who actually live in Leeds. However, I'm not just picking up on Leeds. This is very sort of happening a lot. So let's go and see another one. So this is very recent. This one here is November 2024. Very recent, and they actually done suddenly CT scanning is going to reveal the secrets. I do love these headlines, as if it's a new technique. I've been using CT scanning since 2011. Actually, before that, I did my PhD before that. So this is the stuff that we see in the news that really highlight that they just want people to click on things. So the mummy known as Harwa, or the mummified person known as Harwa, died in his early mid-40s, and I think the lovely thing about it, which is very lovable, that they actually lost it. They lost it. It was back in 1939 that the Field Museum sent Harwa to New York, where he was displayed at the New York World's Fair. However, on the way back, the body was accidentally sent to San Francisco instead of Chicago. And the main idea of having Egyptian artifacts outside Egypt is because we look after them here, and I do a lot of we, and I wear so many hats. So stop me and tell me, who are we? So what if we're not going to display them, if we're not going to do research, what are we going to do with them? Repatriate them? Maybe, why not? So the University College Cork repatriated, actually this took place already, repatriated mummified human remains to Egypt. I think it was last year when it happened officially. But when they first started this conversation, because it was also new to Egypt, Waziri, who was the Secretary General of Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities, he said, we have too many mummies already, we don't need yours. Let's say he's not there anymore. and Cork actually repatriated. What I wanted to highlight as well is that we look at human remains, full human remains, but also think about the canopic jars. They also contain human remains. So when you are working with them, think about human remains in canopic jars. Does Egypt actually want the mummies back? Yes, they want. There's voices coming from Egypt to say that we want our human remains, we want the mummies back to us in Egypt. Again, I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody, not even my organization. Revealing an Egyptian face. This was very close to home. This was in Perth, and they said that they done a digital reconstruction. It was a recent museum, and Perth. Congratulations to Perth. They are Museum of the Year. Museum of the Year candidate. They are a candidate, one of the candidates of the Museum of the Year. So they had the water rising exhibition, and the mummified person, the body of Taher Heb was on display. One of the things that we in museum environment have been saying that apparently from the 1800s that we want to put them because we are going to mention their names and this is what they wanted. Maybe not. Perth put the name, they had a typo in the name. At the top you can see Tah instead of Taher Hetep, and then they actually did not display her. So the coffin was empty. But they did a facial reconstruction, which is a bit problematic. So let's have a look at the facial reconstruction, which is going through here nicely. If I didn't achieve anything, I achieved a video in a presentation today. So you'll see that they done it from the CT scans. They didn't do DNA analysis. I have to highlight that. Also, you will see when you do a CT scanning, you will also have places of loss, so you don't actually get everything. You will lose bits. But then this is going for 2 minutes. So bear with me, but you will see how they managed to do that digitally. When I was in Manchester, I learned with Caroline Wilkinson, and we actually done it with clay. So it came a long way since the clay. Now you can just put it through a program. But they anticipated the skin color. You can see everything is gray now, and then they actually added the skin color without doing the DNA. Not just that, but also you will see what's happening here, and they added this animation, which I think it is possibly not the right way to represent a mummified person from the Egyptian culture being here in Perth. So all is black and white, all good. And this was actually in the exhibition. Is this okay? Do you think it is okay to do that? Okay, so Margaret Maitland from the NMS, she wrote this for the Museum Journal, and she said, give ancient Egyptians the respect they deserve. So she actually mentioned about not using the term mummy, but actually talked about mummified people, and this article is available. She wrote that in 2023, but also if you go to the Egyptian section in the NMS, you will see that there is a label next to some of the mummified people, and you will see the views about using the term mummy, in this context as well. So I think this is actually a good way forward. So let's see about some ethical considerations here. So museums that do not display human remains do exist. And we can't own human remains, we don't, and keeping these things is not appropriate. This is from the Royal British Columbia Museum in Victoria, and by the way, we had a collaboration with Victoria, with this museum particularly, and we were sending a lot of objects, including a human remain, and they said, no, we don't want it. So we had Tahiru with us for the period of time when they had the exhibition, and that's why I knew about them. And also, can we consider consultation with Egyptian communities in the UK? Can we do co-curating and co-curating? Why we're not doing that? Can we put labels in Arabic for the Egyptian objects on display? And we tried that in Aberdeen once, and it was absolutely marvelous. Is it possible to have an ethical committee that include Egyptian experts before a research can be conducted using mummified Egyptians? Also, museum ethics need to be updated regularly, as ethics are not fixed. And we know currently that the ICOM and Museum Association are both reviewing their code of ethics. And before I get the red card, I'm just going to show you this. So this is my colleague Heba Abdelgawad and also Alice Stevenson. They've done this research in collaboration with Egyptian artists. So this is a comic called Nasser Jr. And they drew this, and they are two white male scientists. The first one say, I think it's better to unwrap the linen shroud, and Nasser is here trying to intervene. Can I say something? And then the white male scientist, other one, said, but I think this will be unethical. And then Heba says, oh, hey, bro. And then the far right white male scientist, far right position or ideas, not sure. But I think it's necessary for our research purposes. And for this, you can see that there is a whole conversation, but we're not actually including the Egyptian people, the Egyptian researchers, or any of that. So thank you very much.